Hello and welcome to U.S. History. Um, this will be an introduction for both History 211, the first half of U.S. History up to 1877, and History 2112, which is the second half of U.S. History from effectively 1865 to the present. So there is a little overlap in there in the ways that I teach them. My name is Farah Driver. I am your instructor. I am reasonably new to North Georgia Tech, but I am not new to teaching. I've been teaching for approximately 30 years and full-time teaching since 2011. While I am reasonably new to North Georgia Tech, I've been teaching at Georgia Gwinnett College. I have taught at what was Armstrong Atlantic and is now Georgia Southern. I have taught at Clemson University, at Tri-County Tech in Pendleton, a feed in to Clemson University, and a bunch of other places as well. Currently, I still teach at Georgia Gwinnett, and I teach online asynchronous for the University of Arizona as well. So I do have some pretty substantial teaching experience, a substantial part of which has all been online, both asynchronous and synchronous. So I'm pretty familiar with the way things work in the digital world of teaching. My education is from Clemson University. I have a master's in history where I focused on modern European history. But since then, I have spent a lot of time doing indigenous studies, particularly indigenous North American studies. I have taught North American history, Indigenous North American history courses. I have taught women's history. I've taught interdisciplinary history and interdisciplinary studies. I've done a lot of Western stuff, such as Renaissance, Reformation, um, Enlightenment. I've done a lot of early modern and a lot of cross-cultural studies as well. So where we are then for what we're doing here is this is your Blackboard homepage. Well, it's actually mine, it's not yours, but as you'll notice, each course has a different color for it. You will have, depending on which one of my courses you're in, you'll either have the blue or the orange. So what I want to do right now is to go generally through the syllabus for the course so that you have some sense of what we're doing, and then through some of the other key parameters for it. So for right now, I'm going to hopefully pull up. I'm just going to pull up the 2011 syllabus, and a lot of this is very similar. So the textbook is going to be the same. It is an OpenStax textbook, which is very good. I like the OpenStax U.S. History and World. In fact, I teach the World Civ in my World Civ courses as well. It is one that you can open. I'll go back to it on your browser. Um, if you click the link, it's going to take you to the first section. But I would like to point out with this U.S. history that you can either view it online by clicking here and then it'll load into a specific tab, but you can also download it. And I recommend downloading it so that you've got it available to you even if you are in a place where you don't have internet, or if you're trying to keep up with where you are without having to reload the page all the time and that sort of thing. So I recommend downloading it. Regardless of which class you're in, the book is one complete book. So if you're doing US 1, you're going to do the first half of the book. If you're doing US 2, you're going to do the second half of the book. It is effectively looks like this. This is chapter 1. You are starting with US 1. I'm sorry, that's actually chapter 17. If you're, well, no, that goes to chapter 17. But if you're going back up here, table of contents, the Americas, Europe, and Africa, this is where you're going to be starting. This is what you're going to see with your learning objectives in each one, with information with each one, a little timeline, a little introduction. It's a really, really nice layout with really good and interesting images and information. If you are starting in the second part, then you're going to be looking at the era of reconstructions, which is we'll be starting for it, chapter 16, and it's going to look like this. I get to it. There's your introduction, um, how it looks, the chapter outline, the areas that you're going to be going to. It is a very, very good book, and it is definitely free. So there's absolutely no excuse not to have it. So definitely you want to go ahead and get your hands on that. As I said, I wholeheartedly recommend downloading it so you've got it accessible as well. When you refer to it, um, I would actually say in your internal citations for it, just put Corbett et al. 2014 as your internal citation point, and then you don't have to worry about it. Other than that, you can also put the section if you want, section 1 introduction or chapter 1 section whatever as the page number for it. So your required materials in all of your courses are going to be, of course, your computer, because this is an asynchronous class and you're going to be doing everything asynchronously. Blackboard, obviously, Blackboard Ultra, which you were just seeing, where your classes are located. Your NGTC email, because that's how you'll be getting in touch with me, other than when I do announcements or broadcasts out to you. And of course, internet access is necessary for that as well. Your course description for one is effectively what I said. We're looking at the discovery of the Western Hemisphere effectively by Europeans. Um, in the period that in World Civ is referred to as the Age of Discovery, up until the end of the Civil War and Reconstruction. If you are in 2112, we're looking at effectively Reconstruction, a little hit on the Civil War so you can understand the significance of Reconstruction, into the present and how a lot of what happened in the period after the Civil War has shaped where we are today. Your competency areas are effectively the areas of breakdown for the course, regardless of whether you're in one, or if you're in one, it's these areas. If you're in two, it is effectively Reconstruction, the Gilded Age, the age of imperialism forward. It's outlined in the syllabus as well. All right, your learning outcomes are effectively going to be very similar to what you're going to see in the textbook, and you'll be tested and graded on those via the discussions and via the other things that we're doing in the course, quizzes, etc. And the instructional methodology is going to be the same for both courses. You're going to have quizzes, which will be worth 20% of the grade. We've got discussions that'll be worth 20% of the grade. Then you've got 3-unit tests worth 40% of the grade. And then your final exam, which is cumulative, is worth 20 as well. Your breakdown percentages, of course, are the same. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, 60 to 69 is a D. And I don't expect anybody to do any worse than that. So you should all be good for that. Students with disabilities, very, very good support services for that. If you have accommodations, you need to let me know as soon as you can, or have them let me know so that we can take that into account. The policy, and this is the North Georgia Tech policy, is that there is no late work accepted, which means a due date is a flat date. There's no percentage off for turning it in late because it literally is not accepted. If though, and I'm trying to make this very clear right now, if you have a problem, if something happens, you're in a car accident, you have a family member who has a medical crisis, if anything comes up that is going to make your submission be late, get in touch with me before the deadline. I am inclined to be forgiving and tolerant if things are going to be late, if there's an actual justifiable reason. But I have to know before. Don't wait until it's due and then email me and say, oh, well, I was sick last week, or oh, something happened with work or whatever. No, let me know before. That is a matter of what I consider to be academic respect. I don't adhere to the idea that it is better to commit the sin and then ask forgiveness later. I very much adhere to the policy of letting me know beforehand. I'm much more tolerant beforehand than I am afterwards. Academic expectations, again, this is the college itself. Students are given unlimited attempts on quizzes, with the last attempt being the submitted grade. Students are given 2 attempts on tests, with the last attempt being the submitted grade. And students are given 1 timed 90-minute attempt on the final exam. That final exam can be proctored through a proctoring service, which I do like and have used before, and I will probably be doing that for that exam so that you are not using anything you're not supposed to be using. Um, as most of you, I don't know how many of you are actually on campus. They don't let me know those things, but I will give you, I'm sorry, I don't know how I got so far ahead. The safety infraction procedure, you're expected to adhere to the safety infraction policy set forth by NGTC, which can be found in the course catalog. And you have access to that literally through the homepage itself. I do not take attendance because we don't take attendance, but you are required to attend scheduled classes. And even though we don't have scheduled classes, we do have active participation. So you do need to be sure that you get your work in before the deadlines. Participation includes logging in at least once per week, completing course assignments, keeping up with course expectations, and bringing materials to class. Again, we don't have classes, but you're still expected to have all of the course resources that are necessary. You must also turn in all assignments on time and participate in the discussions. That is mandatory. Um, Again, if there are problems, you need to let me know before they are due. There are tutoring services, which are very good, especially for history. And then I like this work ethics part. North Georgia Technical College students instructs and evaluates students on work ethics in all programs of study. 10 work ethics traits have been identified and defined as essential for student success: appearance, attendance, attitude, character, communication, cooperation, organizational skills, productivity, respect, and teamwork. And you'll be utilizing almost all of those in this course. We may not be utilizing teamwork. I tend not to like having joint groups in the asynchronous classes. But definitely in the attendance, which defined and characterized again by submitting everything timely. Attitude, being willing to make an effort and being willing to be ethical about your approach to it. Communication, staying in touch with me. Cooperation, helping out when necessary. Doing the work without making comments about your dislike of it. Um, Organizational skills, you'll definitely need those, since I assume many of you are both working and or have family as well as trying to go to school. So that's going to be a real test of your ability to um, organize what you do, when you do it, and how well you do it. Productivity, getting the stuff out there, etc. So, all right, additional information. As this is an online class, you will be expected to fully participate by making a minimum of one original posting and 2 responses to classmates for 4 total discussions, 1 per unit of study. Your original posting should be made up of the answers to the questions in your own words, but with the citations for where you get the information from reputable sources, particularly your textbook, and facts defending the argument you have made. Your responses to your classmates should include relevant commentary that does not simply agree or disagree with their posting, but adds to the discussion. They should be, the word I use is substantive. They should be substantive. Your original posting should be at least a minimum of 250 words in length and include your internal citations and your works cited, and your responses should be between 50 and 100 in length, also including internal citations and works cited. You'll have 1 quiz per chapter. Um, you'll be taking 3 unit exams, which will consist of no more than 50 questions and can be taken twice, with the last submission's grade being placed in the grade book itself. You can be taking, well, here it is a non-proctored final exam. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with that, but probably. Um, It is, again, an online course that combines online resources from the North Georgia Tech's Blackboard Ultra site, which is what you saw when I opened up this video, and instructor-provided additional materials, which I will be adding for you as we go along, and you will be able to download. The course runs the length of the semester, or in this case, the summer course. It is not self-paced in that you are required to meet deadlines. So all due dates will be set by me. Now, there are a couple of other things that I want to point out. This is generally the syllabus for both courses, but I want to go to Blackboard itself, and let's talk about some of the things you get through it, because it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. All right, so let's suppose for this one, I'll go to 212, even though this is the same for both of them. So this opening section, the welcome and course overview, is particularly significant and is very accessible. Again, foundationally the same for both groups. This is the welcome announcement that you're hearing now. The first day requirements for both courses are that you must take the 6-question contract quiz effectively. You must answer correctly and agree to the course requirements. And then the course Classroom Essentials, which is, again, good for both. It opens up into a new web page, and I'm going to show you that web page now so that you have an understanding of what you're doing, because there are a couple of things that are particularly significant in it. Anytime now. All right, so you've got your technology requirements, which most of you know. You've got your computer and internet policy, how to set up Microsoft Office 365, the single sign-on things, normal stuff, the net etiquette policy. And since we are online, net etiquette is what we will be working with. Campus dress code, not really relevant for us because for the most part, you're going to be doing this on your own. So enjoy wearing your pajamas if you want to. More information on Blackboard Ultra and where to find things, and then Mac and Chromebook resources. And some of these are particularly important because when you submit things, and I'm actually going to take you to that, one of the big things you're going to see is converting documents to a file, because you have to submit your work as literal files. You cannot send me a Google Docs link. So this explains how to go about either converting from Google Docs to a file itself so you can upload it, and then how to submit files to Blackboard itself. And there's a video that goes with it as well. There's also a section on submitting a Word or an Office 365 document. And again, a little video. And then safeguarding your work, making sure you have an actual copy of it by saving it to a flash drive or to something, even if it is the hard drive of your computer, where you can access it later. So that is a very important instruction point. I encourage you to read through all of these because they are all policies put forth by the university and the distance learning institution itself. And then there are also these course and institutional policies and support. And I want to go to this because this is where we're going to come up on something that is going to be a major part of this discussion. Okay, so it comes to the course institutional policies and support. You'll notice that there are a number of things here, lots of things you can go look at and read about yourself. The Student Success Center, Code of Conduct, policies and procedures, library service, equal opportunity statement, accessibility, the attendance, which I've already explained. But I want to go, and also if you need IT help, there's your link for that. The one I want to go to is artificial intelligence statement. And this is what it pulls up when you click on it. Page 130. It's the entire handbook, by the way. So when you come to it, oh, come on. It is the entire handbook. Hang on just a second. I don't know why it's not loaded. All right. So the AI policy is actually under academic misconduct, which works really well because we're all right here together to have this little conversation that we need to have. Obviously, cheating is a no-no. I don't even think that probably needs to be said, other than it has to be officially in the rules, and I think all of you understand what that is. But I do want to be sure that we're all clear on what cheating means. It is not limited to unauthorized assistance during quizzes, tests, or exams, but it's also using unauthorized sources for papers or assignments, obtaining test or academic materials without permission. And for a lot of this, what it also means is buying your work from someone else or going to some of these wonderful paper mill places and getting things. And I like Course Hero, places like that where other people have taken this course and seen the assignments and put their copies of the assignments up there and the grades they got, so that you can either take that and download it and put your own name on it, or so that you can use it as a base to do your work. That is a no-no. And I'm going to point out that Turnitin is an excellent, excellent program that identifies very quickly when work has been reused by someone else. So please, please don't do that. That's a literal zero the first time, and then it is a trip down to the academic dishonesty department the second time. The next part is plagiarism, which I want to be sure we're all very clear on what that is. As you noticed in the instructions, most of what they want you to do in the discussions and even in some of the other things you're going to be submitting is to put things in your own words, which is fine. I'm totally good with that. You may also use quotes if you want. Quotes, of course, require that you put quotation marks around it and citation immediately afterwards. But when you take information from any source, your textbook, something online, anywhere, and you put it in your own words, that information, that idea, that fact, depending on, I mean, this is a history class, you're going to be using a lot of historical examples, are things that you didn't know prior to doing this. So you have to give credit to where you learned that. And that means either citing the textbook or citing wherever you learned about it, even if you're putting it in your own words. So not doing that is a form of plagiarism. It is sometimes referred to as accidental plagiarism, as you'll notice in the category B below, failing to provide proper parenthetical documentation at the end of a quotation or paraphrase. And again, a paraphrase is when you put it in your own words. Neglecting to include a source on the works cited page. Those are accidental, but they're still plagiarism, and that's still a big no-no. Intentional or blatant plagiarism, as it says here, is intentionally copying portions of someone else's work and submitting it as original, purchasing assignments from others and presenting them as one's own creation. And again, that goes to the ideas like using Coursera and other places like that. That's a flat no. Do not do these things. You don't want to mess with me if I determine that you are cheating, because that's literally what cheating is, and it makes me very, very angry and very upset. But also brings us to section 3 on artificial intelligence. Obviously, ChatGPT is a big thing now. I have used ChatGPT, and in fact, in almost all my other courses, I have, and I will do that with this one as well. Taken the prompts for things, put them in ChatGPT, and then seen the results. And this is where I suggest to you that first of all, you don't use artificial intelligence because that's not helping you learn, which is what the purpose of taking this course is to help you learn and help you learn how to critically think, which is the one thing that AI cannot do. That's what makes humans different from AI. So I tend to structure my grading along these lines. If I enter a prompt into ChatGPT, or there are a couple of other ones that I've also used. There's one actually specifically focused for history that I have used. If I enter a prompt in there, I take that basic answer and call it the 50% mark, because all of you should be smarter than AI, which means that whatever AI is spouting at me is pretty much a broad theory or broad ideas with very little to no support, as in very little historical examples to support it, very little work from the actual sources you're supposed to be using to support it, and no internal citation. So if you're going to use AI, you're not going to pass the class. You can supplement AI by going in and putting citations into the document, but it's still going to be very vague and very broad. It's not going to cover nearly enough of the actual information that you need or that you should be using to support it. So you might make a 60. Bearing in mind, of course, that I have a copy of what AI would generate for that, so I know what I'm arguing against. So I encourage you to do your own work and to bear in mind that citation is mandatory, internal and works cited. I will also be checking your citation, which is why in your citation I encourage you to put not just the author's date, but also the section of the textbook you got it from, or the page number if you're using something that has page numbers. Bearing in mind that I will be double checking all citation to make sure that it's actually accurate, that it actually says where you tell me it says what it says. If you don't put actual locators in there, I'll be doing broader searches, but that also probably means that you're using very broad ideas and, again, not using enough specifics. So consider that as well. All right, so that's the big thing that I really wanted to get on about, was the idea that you really need to be smarter than AI. And I hope and expect you to be smarter than AI. If you're not going to pass the course, because the course is specifically created to teach you critical thinking, which again is something AI cannot do. So, all right, I actually encourage you to look through. This is again the handbook. It is the entire catalog, as it were. I encourage you to look through all these things that you need to be up on and aware of. But academic misconduct and the use of AI are two of the big things that I definitely wanted to hit us on with this. All right, so what else do I need to tell you about me? I love teaching. Many of you may find me pedantic. Many of you may find me boring, in which case I apologize. But I really, really love history. I love everything about history. I have loved history since I was a child. And when I started taking history classes in college, I was majoring in other things. And I was taking them because I wanted to learn more about history, and because I love history. And I love the process of critical thinking, which is what we're here to do. And what critical thinking means to me, and what I hope to teach you about it, is that it means thinking not just about what you're reading and what you're learning, but why you're reading it and why you're learning it. A lot of people say critical thinking means thinking outside the box. And if you're going to call it that, then you have to be aware that the box that we're talking about for history is the writings, the written word. Um, in fact, when we talk about history, as we're going to be, especially if you're in 2011, we'll be talking about what is called prehistory, and that is history, or what happened to people before there was writing, because history itself is the study of the written word. So there's a lot of things that happened to humanity prior to writing, and in fact, when we start discussing the arrival of Europeans in the Western Hemisphere, all of the writings that we have from that period were written by Europeans. They were very, very few were written by indigenous peoples, because only a select group of indigenous peoples actually kept records or wrote things at that point in time. And a lot of those writings were then lost because the Spanish particularly considered them to be heathen or pagan and destroyed them. So a lot of what we're going to learn, especially in 2111, about indigenous peoples, is going to come from oral history, as in ethnohistory, studies of peoples themselves, that is part history and part anthropology. It's an interdisciplinary study based on the stories they've told, because if they had writing, it is gone. If they didn't have writing, then this is the way they kept their record of their people and their culture, was through telling stories to each other, um, and passing them down from generation to generation. So in that respect, what I'm effectively talking about is the different types of history we'll be learning from. But again, the whole thing comes down to thinking outside the box, or looking past what is on the page or what is in the story, and asking why it's on the page, why it's in the story, who put it there, why they put it there, what its intent was. And that's critical thinking. That's looking at the meta information, or the meta ideas above what you actually have. So, all right, I think that pretty much does it for this. I will write up the summary also and post it in Get to Know Your Professor and all that, but I'll also share this introduction with you there, and any other things that I have in the way of announcements will either be video or written, and will be in the announcements section, and I'll try to email them to you too. So welcome to the course, whichever one it is. I look forward to our time together over the next, during the summer period. And please email me. Let me know if you have any questions.